Wally, thanks so much for coming in. It's a delight to see you, even or here in Melbourne. And thank you very much for coming in. As I said, I on the way down on the airplane, I was reminiscing about times with Wally. You know, and sure there haven't been enough of them, but those that there have been very spectacular.
Thank you.
What I was thinking about, Wally, was when we first met, you had an ordinary, I guess, one might call it, bird business, the Australian Bird Company.
Little pet shop business.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do is to trace that. You know, let's start from 8 years ago, or when you got into that business, because I think a lot of people will be able to relate exactly to the Wally story. So start from there if you can, go up to about 2.5 years ago, and then we'll come up to the present day. Is that okay?
Yeah, no problem.
So go back.
8 years ago.
Business. How did you get into the bird business?
I was raised on a poultry farm, and as a result of that, I had a love for birds, for animals.
Right.
My dad was a pigeon fancier, and
well, you have one of those lofts, and you
racing pigeons.
No kidding.
Used to get out early in the morning, waiting for them to fly in, and if they flew around 3 times and didn't land, you'd want to shoot them. You know?
Okay.
2 seconds would cost you a race. You know.
So it was in your blood.
Yeah, it was in my blood.
Then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And over the years, I'd kept and bred birds, and I'd sort of gotten budgie overload after a while. You know, you keep breeding, you got to sell them. So, like many pet shop people, you start off by breeding and selling from your backyard, and then it becomes a little bit of a business. It's a hobby that grows out of control.
Right.
And it's a shame that it happens this way.
Right.
Because a hobby is not really the right reason to go into business for.
Sure.
I made that mistake, you know. Yeah. For me, it was a great hobby. I knew about birds. What else should I do? What else could I do? Let's buy and sell birds, you know.
Right. You told me there were 3 rules, you reckon, for getting into the pet shop.
Oh, yeah, 3 rules. Number 1, it's nice if you've owned or kept a budgerigar in a cage for at least 3 months. That makes you semi-experienced on birds. If you've kept a fish or something in the backyard, then that's even better. If you have a dog as a pet, that's great, because you know all about dogs then.
Right.
If you have the ability to find the most run-down piece of property in your local suburb, in a back street, because the rent's cheap, where nobody passes unless you yell out and ask them to.
Right.
If you can do that as number 2, and rule number 3, at least $10 in a cheque account so you can convince your bank manager to bank you. Rule number 4, if you've got a $2,000 limit on the bank card, that's even better.
That would help, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, then you've got some spare cash.
Okay. So this is you X years ago?
Yeah, 8 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then...
Semi-broke, you know, just hustling for a living, you know, just trying to make it happen.
Right.
And so I started buying and selling and breeding in the backyard, in fact, in my garage.
Right.
I used to have this fabulous Mustang I used to drive around. It was my pride and joy, you know, big banger, and Mustang outside. Now we're in the budgie breeding business.
Oh, it was serious.
Hundreds of boxes breeding budgies.
Enough to put the Mustang
outside,
yeah.
And the Mustang was the top show-winning car at the time. It was it was beautiful condition. So.
And then how did we? I mean, I guess you got some junk mail or something.
Yeah,
what people call junk mail. I shouldn't call it. I should know enough to that.
It's good. It's good. I've always believed that people take the time to write to you. You should at least take the time to read it.
All right.
And I think one of the greatest sins of this 20th century, apart from the idea of self-service, is the fact that people don't look at their junk mail. Anyway, I got a piece of junk mail that says, "Oh, come and attend this seminar. I'll teach you how to answer phones."
Now, you needed this at this
Answering
time.
phones is very important for me.
Right.
I have the heaviest advertised telephone number in the pet business, probably in the world, let alone Australia. It's my home phone number. Why? Because I can't afford 2 numbers. I got 1. I'm living in the house. So the difficulty was people would ring you all hours of the day and night. 1 a.m. Friday morning. "Hello, is that the bird place? Look, I'm sorry, you don't know me." Already I don't like the guy. What do you mean I don't know you? And you're ringing me at 1 a.m. "I've just come home. I've got this little budgie. I didn't get him from you. I bought him from the local pet shop." And I'm thinking, I don't like you anymore.
No, I'm convinced I don't like you. Right. So long you
people would ring me up, and then they would say that you know, their budgie's crook or something, and at that time of the morning you dead set get to not like them, and you start to have an aversion for the phone. Not so much the customer, but the phone, and this spreads off. So I got this bit of junk mail that said, "I'll teach you how to answer the phone correctly, I'll teach you how to do this," and that was you. So away I trot and pays my money, and that's where you and I first met.
Yeah.
And I began to realise then that business was more than just having a job.
Right.
But I didn't quite know.
Right.
But I knew there were other little things.
I think, you know, I remember, Wally, at the time, going back, in fact, I mean, because that wasn't the only seminar you came to. I mean,
oh, no.
You used to come.
Went many times.
And you would always say, you know, I got one little thing extra. And for you, it always seemed to be the little things. And it was, I think, in relation to the business, it was the apparently little things that no one else would do that you did that started to make the difference. Is that a fair comment?
You're right, but they were little things that everybody else got. The only thing, as you say, nobody implemented them.
Right.
They FTI'd. They failed to implement.
FTI, failed to implement.
And see, what happened was, once I did the seminar with you and got a little bit of skill, that's the word I'm looking for, skill, I began to feel better, I began to handle clients better, but the thing that I did was I did one thing at a time.
Okay.
And from there on, my business started to go a little bit better and I started to have a script ready. I realised that I had been asked the same question hundreds of times.
Right.
And every time I gave a different answer.
Yet there had to be a better way, right?
Yeah, the public were asking me the same question. Surely they deserved the same answer every time.
Right.
So then I realised that if you just scripted your answer, you could control the outcome.
Right, okay.
So that was
and I guess you got a predictable outcome, was
a
it?
predictable outcome,
Right.
and that was important.
Right.
You could not only control it, but you could predict what the outcome would be.
Right.
So that was another little thing that I'd learnt. But as time went on, I started to then learn a little bit more about marketing my business.
That's right.
And the fact that marketing's like a little wheelbarrow. Unless somebody picks it up and pushes it, it just stands there. Nothing happens. You can put as much into it as you like,
right.
but unless you pick it up and push it, nothing happens.
Right.
And so then I started to expand and put little ideas into place that helped my business to grow.
I remember one of them. Let me remember. I mean, I remember one time. As I said with you, I always have fun. But I remember one where you told me about the cocky pack. Remember about?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because everybody else was selling cockatoos, but not you.
After a while, I realised that in business it was easier if you packaged things. In fact, it was, once again, somewhere I'd learnt, I'd seen, you know, you get this and this and this and you get one of these as well.
Right.
And I thought, well, why can't I do that?
Right.
What happens? People come to me, they want to buy a cockatoo, but what do they really buy? Most of them buy a cocky and say, have you got any cages? I need some seed. I need this, I need that.
Right.
So therefore, one of the little ideas was, well, why not give them a special deal,
right.
a cocky pack? We would sell a cockatoo, let's say, for $79.
Right.
A cage would be another 60 or 70 or 80 bucks.
Right.
Now, people wouldn't think this way. They would expect to come and buy a cocky for 50, 60, 70, 80, $100. They weren't thinking of spending $200, but that's always what happened.
Right.
So what I thought then, well, why not package it all together, excuse me, and present it nicely.
Right.
So then I would have a little sign made up that says cockatoo so much, cage so much, this so much, that so much. But if you buy the whole lot, we'll do you a special deal, a cocky pack. You get this and 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 this, all them things, and it's a special price.
Right.
Now, you could well afford to do that.
Of course. Because you already created the customer.
Because you'd created the customer.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
And once again, getting back to business, there are lots and lots of examples in every business where you and I both know when we go to buy a product, that's not the only bit we buy.
Right, exactly.
There are all the other little extras.
Well, exactly so. Because everybody knows that. But again, it's this, what do you call it, FTI?
Yeah, they fail to implement. They fail to put the good ideas together. They all think, well, I'm going to do it, yeah, we should do that. But we actually took it and ran with it.
And then you had, apparently bizarre ideas. I mean, you know that I get very passionate, for instance, about guarantees. And I remember again laughing my head off when you talked about the fact you guaranteed the cockatoo. I mean,
sure.
Nobody ever did that.
Sure. Well, you've got to remember this, Paul. With livestock, think carefully. It's not like buying a cushion or a pillow.
Right.
You can sell me this and say, Wally, look, if the stitching comes apart, please bring it back, we'll restitch it, or whatever. Right. But the stitching coming apart does not depend on you going like this or whatever.
Right.
But in my case, in selling livestock, people don't feed it. They don't look after it. They don't have any great level of expertise.
Right.
There are 1,000 things that can be done wrong. You
Right.
can leave it outside on a hot day, gets a sunstroke.
Cocky carks it.
Cocky carks it, snuffs it, does whatever. But once again, I learned and I realised that if I'm going to give a guarantee on something, then I actually call the shots. I can guarantee this cushion and say, Paul, I guarantee the stitching not to pull apart, providing you don't do this, providing you don't do that, and I'll do it for 6 months, or I won't do it for 6. So therefore I set the rules.
Right.
One of my rules is nothing's set in concrete. It can be changed.
Right.
So I sat down and I played with what can I reasonably, sensibly afford that is fair to the customer, fair to me, and gives the cocky a chance as well.
But you also did some, I mean, we teach, as you know, there are basically 4 ways to grow the business. You know, increase number of customers, make sure they keep coming back, or increase number of times they come back, increase the dollar value of each sale, and increase the effectiveness.
That relates exactly to the guarantee. Let
Exactly.
me explain that to you. When I put the cocky guarantee together, in fact, I guarantee every piece of livestock I sell.
Right.
The guarantee is quite simple. It says this: look, in the next 12 months, if anything happens to the bird, if it escapes accidentally,
It flies out the window.
if you let it go accidentally, if somebody steals it, if it goes walkabout, if anything happens to it, doesn't matter what it is, I'll pay the first 50% of the replacement cost. No matter what the problem is, I'll pay the first 50%, no questions asked, and it's for 12 months, and that's my guarantee.
Right.
Now, that's better than everybody else has got,
Right.
because everybody else has got nothing.
Yes.
You walk in a week or a month later and you say, oh, that budgie you sold me, the guy says, well, sorry, what did you do? You did something wrong.
You left the window open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My people say, I'm terribly sorry.
It's
I'm
totally,
so sorry to hear that.
totally
Look,
changed the
let me
present.
help you, please. Come and select another one, because you realise we'll cover you for the first 50%. It doesn't matter what happened, and it's so much nicer.
Yeah.
And we've monitored our results. We monitor everything.
Yeah.
And we've monitored and we've found that the cost is insignificant.
Yes.
But the beautiful part about it, weaving into what you were just about to say, we got the customer back into us.
Well, exactly.
He hasn't gone to my competitor down the road or anywhere else.
Exactly.
He's come back to me
See,
because he has a right to come back to me.
Yes. Such a simple idea, but see, most
Sure.
people, but the other thing you did though, and I'm not sure whether you did this. I mean, I know you tried things and what have you. You had a newsletter, didn't you? That you had.
Still
people,
have.
You still
have. Yeah, it's a.
And people paid you actually, didn't
Yeah,
they, for the
yeah.
newsletter?
I wanted to think of a way in which I could send my good advertising junk mail to people and have them pay for it. No, what happened was, once again, another idea. People, there was a time when people said, if you can get close to your customer, keep in touch with them, etc., etc. My newsletter started off at $7, $7 a year subscription. And everybody said, oh, you can't sell this for $7,
This is the pet shop selling a newsletter.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do that, Wally.
It was 2 pages of A4 together, and all I wanted to do was to pay for the postage.
Right.
And we started selling the fact that we have a little newsletter. It's a $7 a year subscription to cover, postage and handling and production costs, which is what it was. And I timed the newsletter. See, once again, you've got to think about these things. I said to myself, when do I need the money? I need the money when I ain't got none, when it's a bad season,
Right.
when it's bad times. So I was able to, once again, with keeping records and, we good times are and your bad times and lulls in seasons, I was able to say, well, we have a crest there and then a real bad gap. How can we raise that gap? How can we fill that hole in?
Right.
Send the newsletter just before then.
Ah, okay.
Gives you
Right.
contact, gets them to come in at that time.
Right.
They're already spending here anyway because you can't stop them. That's the season.
Right.
It's a fact of life. But what about if we can pull them into this time?
Right.
So we then geared the newsletters to come out at certain times when we had lulls in the season.
Again, very simple.
Yeah. So we would send the newsletter out and we would know at that time what would be the hot item or what are the things that you need to do. In other words, we would inform our clients. It would be time to worm your birds or time to de-louse or clean the aviaries out or it's just the end of breeding season. What do you do with the babies? Bring them down to us, we'll buy them. Or is it time to buy another aviary?
Right.
We'll have a special deal on aviaries.
Right.
Because you're, etc., etc. So these are the little things that we did that were subtle things. And from there, the price of the newsletter went from $7 to $10 to $15. It's now $29.
Is that right?
It's in colour, Technicolor, Cinerama scope. quadraphonic sound almost. And we have thousands and thousands and thousands of subscribers around the world now.
Around the world?
Around the world, yeah.
Amazing.
And it's now a business within a business. We have a complete newsletter production team. All our team now get involved in writing little articles. Once again, people don't come in and just do business with the Australian Bird Company anymore. Right. They come and talk to Michael or Susie or Andrew.
Because that was another area that I was going to get into. I mean, if you want to get into it now, it's fine, but maybe we'll come back to this area of the team. Let's come back to that. So here you were in what most people would regard as an ordinary business, creating an extraordinary...
A very high-risk business.
Right.
Very high-risk business.
Right.
And, you know, we changed the face of how business was done in that industry.
Yes.
Because the risks of going broke were 40 to 60%, right. And especially in that time.
Right.
And so we had to keep doing these things to keep trying the things that made us survive.
And all the time, little thing, little thing, little thing.
Always, little thing. And one thing at a time,
right.
And do it. So put it into practice. Do it.
Measure the result.
Measure the result. Run with it to the nth degree. And if it was wrong, say yes. It's not 100%.
Okay.
How can we fix it?
Right, okay.
Don't drop it and dump it. And this is where a lot of people
It may just be
go.
the execution of the idea.
A lot of people go wrong.
Yeah.
They start something off. It doesn't work. They dump it.
Right.
No, we always said, let's push it just that little bit further,
right.
Because it just may be around the corner. Where you stop, I don't know.
Okay.
But you just keep pushing.
You talking of stop, that leads us into perhaps another element of the Wally story, which, again, I find captivating. And that is when you realised through, and you by all means talk about the circumstances, you realised this whole business about working in a business as opposed to working on it.
Oh.
Talk. I mean, because Paul, it seemed like a penny dropped.
Paul, when the boom was off, it had busted, I bought a Lamborghini.
Which I had a ride in
yes.
one time and it blew my mind, this red Lambo of yours.
I was fortunate to not to be fortunate in business, but I was fortunate that it was going my way.
Right.
It was going my way once again because I was doing these little things that were working.
I remember you said to me at the time, I got into that Lamborghini however many years ago, and you said
5
to
years
me,
ago.
yeah, you said to me, Paul, you remember one of the fourth purposes of business is to have fun, remember
That's
that?
right, yep.
And you said to me,
that's my
fun. I
yeah.
remember you said that.
But once again, you see, I still hadn't quite grasped it.
Right.
I realised that I was working hard and I deserved a treat.
Right.
But there was another treat I deserved, more so than working hard and having a nice Lambo to drive. The treat I deserved was quality of life.
Right.
I needed to be able to say, this is my business. What am I in business for? I'm not in business to have the pleasure of driving a Lambo occasionally. I can go and rent one for $1,000 a day. But I don't need to have that occasional pleasure. I want to have it all the time.
Right.
And what happens with a lot of people in business, they get themselves these little trinkets that they collect and they say, look, I've collected this great painting, but really what does it do? It doesn't do much.
Right.
I've collected this, I've done this. I realised that you had to be able to enjoy it.
Right.
Any time you wanted, you had to be able to switch off and say, I'm going, bang, I'm going to enjoy myself.
Right.
So it was at that time that I started to think differently again. Once again, I attended seminars, I read my junk mail, and filtered the things that gave me a direction.
Right.
And you need to have a direction.
Sure you do.
You need to sit down and say, where am I going to be tomorrow, next month, next year? And have something to aim for.
Right.
I figure if you don't aim, you don't get there.
Right.
I read something once, and I'm trying to think of what it is. The words are, most people aim at nothing and hit it with surprising accuracy every time.
Indeed. I remember that too.
Yeah,
most people aim at nothing, they hit it with tremendous accuracy.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And you know, that was another little thing that I looked. And these are the things that you look at and you say, yeah, this is true. How does it affect me? I realised that there was another tweak to the story.
Right.
You know, all of life is just little tweaks. You tweak it up. You know, you don't go out and improve something 100% better because all your opposition see it. They say, that's what it is. That's why he's doing well. Oh, let's do all this. And all of a sudden you've created 100 competitors. What you do is you take the 100 little things.
Steal up on them.
Yeah. Improve 100 little things 1% each.
Yes.
And they all matter. They all count. But getting back to what we're saying, what we want to...
That's all right. You were talking about...
me.
No, that's all right. You were talking about working in, not on.
Right, working in, not on. I got some junk mail from...
Well, you got it from us, I think, and it's probably talked about Michael.
Yeah, Michael Gerber.
Michael Gerber.
It was a seminar from you.
Yeah. In fact, it was held not too far away from here in the World Congress Centre.
I got the little video, I got this, and I looked at the video and I said, this man, he's talking about me.
Little bald-headed person, but he knows what he's talking about, right?
No, he was talking about me.
Yes, exactly.
It was me, all along. You know, he's saying all the right words. He was saying, most guys go into business for the wrong reason.
The entrepreneurial seizure.
The entrepreneurial seizure. They become technicians. The pet shop guy knows how to clip poodles, so he says, I'm going to clip them for myself. Lower the prices, I'll have more customers. Yes. And, hey, I could see it happening. And I could see what the message was behind it. And I realised that it had to be done differently for me to have my quality of life.
Right.
So what I then started to do was to physically implement a plan whereby I would retire.
Right.
I put a date on it. I said, I'm going to retire by that date. How do I do this? I can't retire if people are ringing me up in the middle of the night saying, oh, you know about budgies, or coming in and asking for me in the business, or doing this. I realised I had to replace myself.
Right.
I couldn't build a business around my own skills. I could build it with my skills.
Right.
But I couldn't let it survive around my skills.
Got it.
So my aim then became to replace myself. And this is what I started to do, work on the business rather than in the business. Right. Now, that was hard.
Actually, it is tough, you know. You're right to identify
that
that.
was real tough.
Yeah.
Because people would come in and ask for Wally. Why? Because Wally's the nicest person in the place.
Yeah.
He's the guy that started them off. He's the guy that sold them. He's the guy that talks to them empathetically. He's the guy that understands their problems. He's the guy that knows the answers. And I realised my people, my team, had to replace me.
Okay.
So therefore, the basic thing, as Michael says, organisational chart. Who does this job? And what are the functions of this job?
Right.
Now, there's nothing wrong with one person doing that, and that, because in little businesses, all you got's one person.
One person, exactly.
But for it to be a business, it has to run itself without that one person. Because what happens when that one person doesn't turn up?
Yeah, doesn't know.
It collapses.
You got it.
So therefore, I started realising that apart from the fact that I had good people working for me, my people needed more training.
Okay.
They needed to suck from what I had here into their own brains.
And I guess you needed systems to put that together as well.
Exactly right.
Right. So what we might do,
Yeah.
because we've got a lot to work on so far, right?
Fine.
So what we might do is ask the people joining us now, just take a little break.
Sure.
And think about where it's gone so far.
Fine.
You and I are going to have a glass of water.
Great.
And we're going to come back and talk about working on, not in. Okay with you?
Thank you.
Good.
Yes.
Be there back in a minute.